If you don't show up tonight, you're dead. We clear. Alara Quinn's pen froze mid-signature. Vincent Castellanos' voice on the speaker was ice. Roman Vance stood at his window, knuckles white against the glass. She'll be there, Roman said. Good, because I've spent 3 months tracking your little secretary. 7 years hiding Alara, impressive. But tonight everyone sees who you really are, or you don't leave that restaurant alive. The line went dead. Roman turned, and for the first time in 7 years he looked at her, truly looked. How long has he known? Alara's hands shook. Long enough to kill me. Before this story destroys you emotionally, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because you need to see how this ends. Stay until the final word and comment your city below, so I know how far Alara's story travels. Trust me, you've never heard anything like what's coming. Now, let's begin. 3 hours earlier, Alara's fingers flew across the keyboard, deleting files she'd spent 7 years building. Evidence, leverage, secrets that could topple governments. All of it had to disappear before tonight. Ms. Quinn, she jumped, slammed the laptop shut. Marcus Delacroix stood in her doorway, eyes narrowed. Jumpy today. Busy today. She forced her secretary's smile, the weapon she'd perfected. What do you need? What are you deleting? Her blood turned cold. I'm sorry. I saw the screen. You were deleting something. He moved closer, and Alara realized with horror that Marcus wasn't just suspicious, he was hunting. Want to tell me what? Old performance reviews. We're at capacity. Bullshit. He perched on her desk, too close, invading. You've been different for weeks. Phone calls at weird hours, encrypted files. And now Roman's dragging you to the Castellano dinner. He laughed ugly. What are you, Alara? A spy plant? She met his eyes steadily. I'm a secretary who does her job. No, he leaned in, voice dropping. You're something else. And after tonight, I'm going to find out what. He left, and Alara's hands shook so hard she couldn't type. Marcus knew, not everything, but enough to be dangerous. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus reports to Castellano. Has for 6 months. You're compromised. She stared at the message until it auto-deleted. 6 months. Marcus had been feeding information to their enemy for 6 months, and she'd missed it. How much did Castellano know? Everything. He knew everything. The office door slammed open. Roman stormed out, phone pressed to his ear, face dark with rage. I don't care what Kozlov wants. Tell him the deal's off. He threw his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. Alara stood slowly. Mr. Vance. Castellano. The name was poison. He just bought out the Kozlov brothers. 40% of my Eastern European operations gone. And you know what he told me? Roman's laugh was broken. He said, ask your secretary how I knew about Kozlov's cash flow problems. The accusation hung between them like smoke. You think I told him? Alara's voice was deadly quiet. Did you? 7 years. 7 years of loyalty, of invisible service, of building his empire from the shadows. And he stood there doubting her. No, she said simply, but Marcus did. Roman froze. What? Marcus has been reporting to Castellano for 6 months. Every meeting, every strategy, every weakness. She pulled out her phone, showed him the message. I just found out 3 minutes ago. Roman's face went white, then red with fury. That son of a... There's more. Alara moved to his office, locked the door behind them. Castellano knows about me. Not just that I'm your secretary, he knows what I really am. What I've been doing. And what have you been doing, Alara? The question was soft, dangerous. She met his eyes. Keeping you alive. Then she told him everything. 7 years ago, Alara Quinn had been someone else entirely. Corporate strategist, hostile, takeover specialist, the woman companies hired to destroy their competition. She'd been good at it, too good. Until Vincent Castellano hired her to dismantle Roman Vance's empire. She'd said yes, taken his money, gotten hired as Roman's secretary under a false resume. And then she'd spent 3 months studying Roman Vance and realized something that changed everything. He was better than Castellano. Cleaner. More honest in a world of lies. So she'd made a choice. She became invisible, destroyed the evidence Castellano wanted, and spent 7 years building Roman's empire instead of toppling it. You were supposed to destroy me, Roman said flatly. Yes. Why didn't you? Because you were worth more than his money. She pulled out her tablet, showed him files upon files of intelligence. I've spent 7 years documenting every move Castellano makes. Every dirty deal, every threat, every body buried. Tonight he's going to offer you a partnership that's really an execution, and I'm going to stop him. Roman sank into his chair. You're telling me my secretary, my invisible, frumpy secretary, is actually some kind of corporate assassin? Was. I left that life. She paused. Until Castellano made it clear I can't hide anymore. The phone call this morning, that was him threatening my life unless I show up tonight. He's going to expose me, Roman. To everyone. And then he's going to kill me. Not if I... Yes, even if you protect me. Her voice cracked, the first real emotion breaking through. He has resources you can't imagine. People everywhere. The only way I survive tonight is if I walk in there and face him. No more hiding, no more invisibility. Roman stood, moved to her, and for the first time in 7 years, he really saw her. Not the disguise, the person beneath. Then we face him together. Roman, you don't understand. I understand that you've been protecting me for 7 years. That you gave up your entire identity to keep me safe. That you're the smartest person in this building, and I've been too blind to see it. He gripped her shoulders. Tonight we walk in together, partners, and we show Vincent Castellano what happens when he threatens the wrong woman. Ilara felt tears sting her eyes. When had she last cried? Years. If we do this, everything changes. I can't go back to being invisible. Good. I don't want you invisible anymore. The weight of those words settled over her like a blessing and a curse. Then I need to prepare. She straightened, warrior returning. And you need to understand something, Roman. The woman walking into that restaurant tonight, she's not your secretary. She's the person Castellano feared enough to threaten. And she's done playing nice. 4 hours until dinner. 4 hours to transform from shadow to weapon. Ilara went to the private bathroom Roman had given her years ago, the one perk he'd offered without thinking, the one that had become her sanctuary. She locked the door and stared at her reflection. Thick glasses, severe bun, shapeless clothes that hid everything. The armor had to come off. But first she had work to do. She pulled out a burner phone, one of 3 she kept hidden. Dialed a number she'd memorized but never saved. Ilara Quinn. The voice on the other end was female, Russian accent thick. I wondered when you'd call. Natasha, I need everything. Everything is expensive. I'm about to take down Vincent Castellano. You want in silence. Then what do you need on his board? Every weakness, every secret, every pressure point. And I need it in 3 hours. Impossible. You owe me, Natasha, Prague, 2019, the Molotov files. A long pause. You saved my life. Now save mine. 3 hours, I'll send it encrypted. Natasha's voice softened. Ilara, be careful. Castellano doesn't just kill people, he erases them. Then it's good I've been erased for 7 years. She hung up and made 3 more calls. Sources she'd cultivated, contacts she'd maintained in secret. By the time she finished, her invisible network was activated, a web of information. Brokers, hackers, and strategists who owed her favors. The files started arriving. First, Natasha's detailed dossiers on Castellano's 5 board members. Then others, financial records, hidden accounts, blackmail material. Ilara absorbed it all, her mind cataloging every piece of leverage. Sandra Reeves, board member, daughter of a real estate mogul. Castellano was planning to liquidate her father's company after tonight's merger. She didn't know. Thomas Chen's CFO gambling addiction. Castellano held $3 million in private debts. Leash and collar. Margaret Dulles, operations director, affair with her assistant. Castellano had photos ready to destroy her marriage. David Kozlowski, investor, embezzling from his own fund. Castellano was the only thing between him and prison. Jennifer Park, tech officer, transgender woman who wasn't out publicly. Castellano held it over her like a sword. Each weakness was a weapon. Each secret was leverage Castellano would use tonight to keep his board compliant while he destroyed Roman. Unless Ilara dismantled those weapons first. She started typing. Emails drafted but not sent. Bank transfers queued but not executed. Each one designed to free Castellano's board from his control. Sandra would receive proof of Castellano's plans for her father's company. Thomas would find his debts mysteriously paid off by an anonymous donor. Margaret would discover her assistant had received a lucrative job offer across the country, removing the affair's leverage. David would get evidence of Castellano's own embezzlement, mutually assured destruction. Jennifer would receive a message from the head of a major LGBTQ plus corporate alliance offering protection and support if she chose to come out. All timed to deliver at 7 p.m. 1 hour before dinner, Castellano's board would walk into that restaurant free of his control, and he wouldn't know until it was too late. Laura smiled grimly. Let's see how you negotiate without your hostages, Vincent. A knock. Laura. Roman's voice uncharacteristically hesitant. She opened the door. He stood there with a garment bag. I called in a favor. Designer friend. She sent the... He held out the bag. I told her I needed something for someone extraordinary. Ilara took the bag, throat tight. Thank you. There's something else. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a pendant, a simple silver circle, elegant. It has a panic button. Press it twice fast and my security team gets your location. I know you're capable of protecting yourself, but you want to protect me anyway. Yes. She took the necklace, let him fasten it around her neck. His fingers brushed her skin, and electricity sparked between them. Roman, after tonight, we'll figure it out. Whatever this is between us, whatever we're becoming. He met her eyes. But first we survive. She nodded. Survival first, everything else later. He left and Ilara opened the garment bag. The dress was perfect. Deep emerald green, not the crimson she'd chosen for herself, but something richer, more powerful. It spoke of money and danger, elegance and threat. This was the dress of a woman who owned the room. She began her transformation. The glasses came off first, contacts in her eyes suddenly sharp hazel with gold flecks that had been hidden for years. The bun uncoiled, revealing hair that fell in dark waves past her shoulders. She'd maintained it in secret, this one vanity. Makeup next. Not secretarial invisibility, but strategy. Highlight the bone structure, the full lips, the eyes that miss nothing. War paint for a different kind of battle. The dress slid on like destiny. It fit perfectly, hugging curves she'd hidden, turning her body into a weapon of distraction and power. Heels last, 4 inches of designer lethality. She stared at her reflection. The woman looking back wasn't the invisible secretary. This was Ilara Quinn, unmasked corporate assassin, strategic genius, the woman Vincent Castellano had underestimated. Big mistake. Her timer rang. 6:30 p.m. Time to face the world. She gathered her tablet loaded with every piece of intelligence, every strategy, every contingency plan. Then she unlocked her bathroom door and stepped into the office. The reaction was instantaneous. Daniel dropped his coffee. Again. The crash echoed through the suddenly silent space. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Junior executives gaped. Assistants stared. Even the cleaning staff froze. Marcus stumbled out of the conference room, saw her, and went white as a sheet. Good. Let them all see what they'd missed. She walked through the office like a queen through conquered territory. Her heels clicked a rhythm of judgment. Tick, tick, tick. Each step was a revelation. Each movement was a declaration. I was always here. You just never looked. She reached Roman's door, knocked once, entered without waiting. He stood by his desk adjusting his tie. I swear to God, if one more person, he turned, saw her, forgot how to breathe. Oh, he said finally. Then, oh, is that all you've got, Mr. Vance? She moved closer, watched his eyes track her movement. I expected more articulate. He struggled and she enjoyed watching this powerful man rendered speechless. How did I never see this? Because I didn't want you to. She handed him her tablet. Everything you need is here. Every move Castellano will make, every counter we have. I've already activated half the strategies. By the time we sit down, his board will be questioning their loyalty. Roman took the tablet, but didn't look at it. Ilara, I need to say something. Later. Right now, we have a war to win. No. He gripped her arm, gentle but firm. Right now, I need to tell you that I'm sorry. For 7 years of not seeing you. For taking you for granted. for being the kind of man who let someone extraordinary hide in plain sight because I was too arrogant to look. The apology hit harder than any threat. Alara felt her carefully constructed walls crack. Roman, and I need to tell you that after tonight, whatever happens, I'm not going to make that mistake again. You want partnership. You have it. You want equity in this empire. Done. You want me to grovel. I'll grovel. His voice dropped. You want something else entirely. Tell me what it is. The air between them crackled with possibility, danger, and something that felt dangerously like hope. What I want, Alara said slowly, is to walk into that restaurant and watch Vincent Castellano realize he's lost before the appetizers arrive. Roman smiled fierce and proud. Then let's go destroy him. The car was waiting. As they settled into the back seat, Alara checked her phone. 7:01 p.m. Her emails had been delivered. Castellano's board members were right now reading messages that would shatter his control. What are you smiling about? Roman asked. I'm imagining Vincent's face when his perfectly controlled board starts asking questions. You're terrifying. Yes, she met his eyes. I am. Is that a problem? No, he leaned closer. It's the hottest thing I've ever seen. The tension between them could have ignited the leather seats, but before anything could happen, her phone buzzed. Natasha Castellano knows about the emails. He's moving up his play. Be ready. Her blood chilled. We have a problem. She showed Roman the message. His jaw tightened. What kind of problem? The kind where Vincent doesn't wait for dessert to make his move. Her mind raced, recalculating. He's going to attack early, probably before we even sit down. We need... The car swerved violently. Tires screamed. Alara grabbed Roman as they spun the world, tilting sickeningly. They crashed into a parked car with a sound like thunder. For a moment, silence, then chaos. Out! Roman yanked open the door, pulled Alara after him. Now! She stumbled in her heels, saw their driver slumped over the wheel, unconscious or worse. People gathered phones out, and Alara realized with horror that they were 3 blocks from the restaurant, 3 blocks from Vincent Castellano. This wasn't an accident, she said. I know. Roman's security training showed as he scanned the crowd, the buildings. He's making a statement. We're vulnerable out here. We can't run. We don't run. Roman straightened his jacket, offered his arm. We walk. 3 blocks. Like nothing happened. Alara took his arm, her mind spinning strategies. Castellano wanted them scared off balance. He'd staged this crash to prove he could hurt them anywhere, anytime. So they'd give him the opposite reaction. They walked. Alara kept her head high, her stride steady despite the heels and the adrenaline screaming through her veins. Beside her, Roman was solid, unmovable. People stared. Some recognized. Roman Vance whispered his name. Their phones captured everything, the crashed car, the power couple walking away like they owned the city. By tomorrow, this would be viral. He's watching, Alara murmured, probably from the restaurant. He wanted to see us panic. Disappointed. Furious. She smiled cold, which means we're winning. 2 blocks. 1 block. The restaurant loomed ahead, all glass and steel and old money. The kind of place where empires were traded like poker chips. The maitre d' saw them coming and his professional mask slipped for just a second. Mr. Vance, Ms. Quinn, is everything all right? Perfect, Roman said smoothly. Minor traffic issue. I believe we have a reservation. Of course. Right this way. They followed him through the main dining room. Heads turned. Conversations paused. Alara felt the weight of every gaze, every assessment. Let them look. Let them see. The invisible woman was gone forever. The private room was at the back. The maitre d' opened the door and Alara's warrior instincts took over, cataloging everything in a heartbeat. Vincent Castellano sat at the head of the table, silver hair, sharks, smile eyes like winter. His 5 board members flanked him, but their body language was wrong, tense, uncertain. Her emails had landed, they knew. Roman, Vincent stood all charm. And Ms. Quinn, how lovely. We heard about your little accident. I do hope you're not injured. Not at all, Alara said coolly. Just a minor inconvenience. How resilient. His eyes stripped her down, reassembled her. I must say you look different than your photos suggest. Photos can be deceiving. Indeed, he gestured to the table. Please sit. We have so much to discuss. They sat and Alara positioned herself not behind Roman but beside him. Equal, visible. Vincent noticed. His smile sharpened. I was just telling my board about you, Ms. Quinn. Your fascinating background. The work you used to do before you became a secretary. The threat was clear. He was going to expose her right here, right now. Alara smiled. Were you? How thorough? Did you tell them about Prague? Vincent's smile froze. Prague, where Alara had caught him selling classified information to Russian oligarchs. Prague, where she had proof. Or perhaps you mentioned Singapore, she continued conversationally. The offshore accounts, the shell companies. I have such detailed records of your activities, Vincent. I thought maybe we could share them with everyone. Sandra Reeves, the board member whose father was being targeted, spoke up. Mr. Castellano, I received an interesting email an hour ago, something about liquidation plans for Reeves' properties. Thomas Chen leaned forward. And I had a curious thing happen. My private debts were paid off by an anonymous donor. Any idea who might have done that, Vincent? The table erupted in quiet chaos. Vincent's carefully controlled board was fracturing, and his face showed the exact moment he realized he'd lost control. What did you do? He hissed at Alara. I freed your hostages. She opened her tablet, slid it across the table so everyone could see. You built your empire on blackmail and coercion, Vincent. But empires built on fear crumble when the fear disappears. You have no idea what you've done, Vincent said, and for the first time there was real rage in his voice. No idea who you're dealing with. Oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. Alara stood every inch a queen. A man who tried to hire me 7 years ago to destroy Roman Vance. A man who threatened my life this morning because I chose loyalty over his money. A man who staged a car crash to frighten us. She leaned forward, voice dropping to ice. Here's what's going to happen, Vincent. You're going to withdraw your proposal. You're going to embellish your shell companies at pennies on the dollar, and you're going to disappear from our business landscape. Or what? Or I send everything I have on Prague, Singapore, and Zurich to the SEC, the FBI, and every major news outlet in North America. She smiled. Your choice. Vincent's hand moved fast, reaching into his jacket. Roman reacted faster, standing blocking Alara. But Vincent didn't pull a weapon. He pulled an envelope. You're good, he said, voice shaking with suppressed fury. Better than I thought. But you made one critical mistake, Alara. You assumed I needed my board to destroy you. He threw the envelope on the table. Photos spilled out. Alara's blood turned to ice. They were surveillance photos. Her meeting with contacts. Her 7 years ago taking money from Castellano. Her building the false identity she'd used to infiltrate Roman's company. And one more photo her younger brother taken yesterday, standing outside his college dorm, unaware he was being watched. The message was clear. I have leverage you didn't know about. Your brother Kyle Quinn, 22 years old, business major, completely innocent of his sister's corporate espionage past. Vincent's smile was poison. It would be a shame if something happened to him, or if the police received evidence that he was involved in your schemes. Alara couldn't breathe. She'd protected Kyle by cutting all contact, by vanishing from his life completely. But Castellano had found him anyway. You touch him, she started. I won't have to. You're going to work for me just like you were supposed to 7 years ago. You're going to dismantle Roman's empire piece by piece. And if you refuse, your brother goes to prison for crimes you commit in his name. Vincent sat back triumphant. Did you really think you could outsmart me? The room spun. 7 years of planning, of strategy, of carefully built defenses, all useless against this one weakness she couldn't protect. Roman's hand found hers under the table. Squeezed, anchor. Vincent, Roman said quietly, you just made a fatal error. I don't think so. You threatened family. Roman's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Alara's brother is about to receive a full scholarship funded through my charitable foundation. He'll have 24/7 security he doesn't know about. And if anything happens to him, I have 8 different government agencies on speed dial who would love to hear about your activities. You're bluffing. Am I? Roman pulled out his phone, pressed one button. Andrew, execute the Quinn scholarship. Full ride, full protection, effective immediately. He hung up. Done. Your leverage just evaporated. Vincent's face went purple with rage. You can't. I just did. Roman stood, bringing Alara up with him. Here's what's actually going to happen. You're going to leave us alone, both of us, forever, because if you don't, Alara isn't the only one with 7 years of documentation. I've been watching you too, Vincent, and the things I know, they don't just end your career, they end your freedom. You're declaring war. No, Roman smiled, and it was terrifying. We're ending one. You lost the moment you threatened someone I care about. He led Alara toward the door. She moved in a daze, her mind reeling from the whiplash, the threat, the protection, the casual way Roman had just obliterated Vincent's leverage. At the door, she turned back. Vincent, Prague wasn't your only mistake. You should have left my brother alone. They walked out, leaving Vincent Castellanos sitting in the wreckage of his perfect plan. In the car, a new one Roman's team had sent, Alara finally let herself shake. He knows about Kyle, she whispered. Kyle's safe. I promise you he's safe. You can't promise that. Castellano will... Alara. Roman turned her to face him. I already moved Kyle 3 hours ago. New apartment, new security, new identity if he needs it. I did it the moment you told me Castellano threatened you. She stared. When you were transforming, I made calls. Your brother is in a secure location with a security team that could protect the president. Castellano can't touch him. The tears came then, hot and unstoppable. 7 years of being alone, of protecting everyone by keeping them at a distance, of carrying every burden herself, and Roman had seen past it all, had protected the one person she couldn't. Why she managed? Because you're not alone anymore. Because this partnership goes both ways. Because he stopped, seemed to struggle with words. Because you matter, Alara, not just as a strategist or an asset. You matter. She kissed him. It wasn't planned, wasn't strategic. It was pure emotion, gratitude, and relief, and something deeper that she'd been denying for years. He kissed her back, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious, something worth protecting. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Lara laughed, shaky but real. That was unprofessional. Fire me. Never. She rested her forehead against his. What happens now? Now we go back to the office, we announce our partnership, and we let Vincent Castellano spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder. Roman pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. You ready to be visible? Was she ready for the spotlight, the scrutiny, the danger that came with being seen? But she looked at Roman, at the man who'd seen her, truly seen her, and chosen her anyway, and realized visibility wasn't the curse she'd feared. It was freedom. I'm ready. The car pulled up to the office building. Even at 8 p.m. lights blazed. The crash, the dinner, the confrontation word had spread. The whole company would be waiting, watching, demanding answers. Roman helped her out of the car, and together they walked through the front doors. The lobby went silent. Employees who'd stayed late, security guards, even the cleaning crew, all stopped and stared. Roman's voice carried. Everyone, conference room now! They filed in, 60 people cramming into a space meant for 40. Alara stood beside Roman, feeling the weight of every gaze, every question. Some of you have been with me for years, Roman began. Others are new, but all of you have worked with Alara Quinn, whether you realized it or not. She's been the backbone of this company, invisible, underestimated, and absolutely essential. He turned to her. Tonight that changes. Effective immediately, Alara is my partner. Equal ownership, equal authority, equal voice in every decision. The room erupted in whispers. Marcus, standing in the back, looked like he might vomit. There's more, Roman continued. Marcus Delacroix has been terminated for corporate espionage. Security will escort him out. Anyone else who has a problem with our new partnership is welcome to leave. Marcus sputtered. You can't, this is insane. She's just a secretary. She's the woman who's been running half this company while you were playing politics. Roman's voice cut like a blade. And if you don't leave in the next 30 seconds, I'll have you arrested. Security moved in. Marcus was escorted out, still protesting. No one else moved. Alara stepped forward. Time to address her new empire. I know this is a shock. For 7 years, I've been invisible to most of you. That was by design. But moving forward, I'm going to be very visible. Some of you will resent me. Some will question whether I've earned this position. She smiled sharp. I have. And I'm going to prove it every single day. We have work to do, empires to build, and enemies to crush. Anyone who's not on board, there's the door. Silence. Then from the back, Daniel, the young associate, started clapping. Others joined. Not everyone, but enough. It was a start. The crowd dispersed. Roman and Alara were left alone in the conference room, the adrenaline finally crashing. That was, Alara started, insane, reckless. Perfect, she turned to him. We really doing this full partnership? Full partnership. He held out his hand. Equal stakes, equal risks, equal rewards. She shook it, feeling the weight of the promise. Then, because she couldn't help herself, what about the other thing? What other thing? The kiss. That wasn't very professional, Mr. Vance. Roman pulled her close, his smile wicked. We're partners now, Ms. Quinn. I think we can break a few rules. He kissed her again, deeper this time, full of promise and danger, and a future neither could fully see. When they broke apart, Alara's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her blood froze. Unknown number, congratulations on your partnership. But visibility has a price. They're watching now. All of them, and some enemies are worse than Castellano. Sleep well, Alara, while you still can. She showed Roman, his jaw tightened. More threats, more wars. She pocketed the phone. Being visible means being a target. Then we face it together. Alara looked out over the city, now their empire, their battlefield. 7 years of hiding had ended. The real fight was just beginning. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't facing it alone. And that made all the difference. The threat message glowed on Alara's screen like a countdown timer. Roman stood beside her, reading it over her shoulder, and she felt his body tense. We should get out of here, he said quietly. Running won't help. She deleted the message, but the words had already burned into her memory. Whoever sent that wants us scared, scattered, making mistakes. Then what do we do? Alara turned to face him, and the exhaustion of 7 years suddenly crashed over her like a wave. We figure out who else wants me dead. They took the private elevator to Roman's penthouse office, the one most employees didn't know existed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan, and Alara had the sudden irrational thought that they were too exposed, too visible. Old habits. She pushed them down. Roman poured 2 glasses of scotch, handed her one. Start from the beginning. Who knows what you really are? Besides Castellano. She sipped, felt the burn. Natasha Volkov, information broker, former FSB. She's an ally. Then there's Marcus, but he's neutralized. And she hesitated. And there's someone else. Someone I worked with before I came here. We called him the Architect. The name felt dangerous, even saying it aloud. He ran the operations, assigned the targets. I was one of his best. Until I disappeared. Went dark on him, stopped answering calls, vanished into your secretarial pool. She met Roman's eyes. People don't quit the Architect. They retire or they die. There's no middle ground. Roman set down his glass carefully. You think he sent the message? I think he's been watching me for 7 years, waiting to see what I'd do. And tonight I became visible again. Her phone buzzed. She looked down and ice flooded her veins. Oh God. What? She turned the screen. A photo taken tonight outside the restaurant. Her and Roman walking away from the crash. But someone had drawn a red X over her face. And a message, found you. That's not Castellano's style, Roman said, voice tight. No, it's not. Alara's hand shook. It's the Architect. He always marked his targets this way. Red X means execution order. How long do we have? Hours, maybe less. She was already moving, pulling up encrypted files on Roman's computer. He doesn't waste time. He'll have already assigned someone a cleaner, probably multiple cleaners. They'll come fast and they'll come hard. Then we fortify. I'll call my security. Your security won't stop Architect's people. She typed frantically, accessing dark web forums which she hadn't visited in years. These aren't street thugs or corporate spies. These are professional killers. The kind who make deaths look like accidents. Roman grabbed her shoulders, forced her to look at him. Then tell me how to protect you. The question hung between them, raw, honest, terrified. And Alara realized with stunning clarity that Roman Vance, a man who'd built an empire through ruthless calculation, was genuinely afraid for her. You can't, she whispered. The only way to stop the Architect is to disappear again. Become invisible. And You just became visible. I know. His grip tightened. So we don't run. We fight. Tell me how. She wanted to argue to explain that you didn't fight the architect, you survived him. But something in Roman's eyes stopped her, a fierce determination that matched her own. Okay, she said, but we do this my way. 20 minutes later, they were in Roman's car, not the corporate town car, but his personal vehicle. A nondescript sedan most people didn't know he owned. Ilara drove, taking side streets and random turns, checking mirrors obsessively. Where are we going? Roman asked. Somewhere the architect won't expect. She pulled onto the highway, heading north. A place I set up years ago, my insurance policy. You have a safe house. 3, actually, but this one's special. She glanced at him. No one knows about it. Not Natasha, not Castellano, not even the architect. It's my ghost protocol, the place I disappear to if everything goes wrong. They drove in silence for 30 minutes. Ilara's mind raced through possibilities, threats, potential attacks. The architect was methodical. He'd know her patterns, her contacts, her safe houses, all except this one. She hoped. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered on speaker. Ilara Quinn? The voice was digitally distorted, inhuman. Or should I call you by your real name? Roman's hand found hers. She squeezed back, kept her voice steady. Who is this? You know who this is? You've known since the moment you saw that red X. A pause, mechanical breathing. 7 years, Ilara. 7 years you've been playing secretary and I let you. Do you know why you were watching, waiting to see if I was still useful? Smart girl. Always were the smart one. The voice shifted, became almost fond. I watched you build Roman Vance's empire. Watched you take down competitors, broker deals, manipulate markets, all from behind a secretary's desk. Impressive. Almost made me proud. Almost. Until tonight. Tonight you revealed yourself. Became visible. Invisibility, my dear, is a weakness I can't tolerate in my assets. I'm not your asset anymore. You never stopped being my asset. You just forgot who you belong to. The mechanical voice turned cold. I have 3 teams converging on Manhattan as we speak. They have your photo, your patterns, your known associates. By morning, you'll be dead. Or what? Or you come back, work for me again, use your new position with Roman Vance to access the markets I need. And in exchange, I let you live. Ilara's throat tightened. And if I refuse, then everyone you care about dies. Your brother, yes, I know about Kyle, Roman Vance, even that information broker you think is so clever, Natasha. All of them gone. Starting with Roman sitting right beside you in that sad little sedan you think I can't track. The line went dead. Roman's face had gone pale. He knows where we are. Of course he knows. Ilara's voice went hollow. He's the architect. He knows everything. She pulled off the highway, abruptly taking an exit at the last second. But knowing isn't the same as catching. Ilara, if he has teams, then we split up. You go to ground, I lead them away. Absolutely not. Roman, he'll kill you to get to me. Then he kills me. I'm not leaving you alone with a death sentence hanging over your head. Roman's voice was steel. We're partners. Remember, equal stakes, equal risks. That wasn't just pretty words. She wanted to argue to push him away for his own safety, but they were past that now. They'd made promises, and Roman Vance didn't break his promises. Okay, she said finally, then we go to the safe house. Together. And we figure out how to kill the architect before he kills us. The safe house was in Connecticut, hidden in a neighborhood of wealthy retirees who minded their own business. Ilara pulled into the garage of a modest colonial, the door closing automatically behind them. Inside the house was sparse but functional. She'd stocked it 3 years ago, food weapons, cash, fake IDs. Everything needed to disappear permanently. Roman examined a handgun from the weapons cache. You've been planning this for a while. Since the day I went invisible, I knew eventually someone would come looking. She pulled out her laptop, booted it up. The question is, how do we stop him? Can't we just, I don't know, expose him? Go to the authorities. The architect doesn't exist officially. No name, no face, no records. He's a ghost who creates ghosts. She pulled up encrypted files. But he has to have vulnerabilities. Everyone does. They worked through the night, Ilara hacking into networks she'd avoided for years. Roman making calls to his own contacts in the intelligence community. By dawn, they had a name, Thomas Graves, Ilara said, staring at the photo on her screen. Former CIA, went private 15 years ago, runs a boutique firm that officially does corporate consulting. Unofficially, he's the architect. Yes. She zoomed in on his face, handsome, distinguished, the kind of man you'd trust with your secrets. And he's hosting a charity gala in Manhattan tomorrow night. 500 guests, heavy security, all the major players. Roman leaned back. That's bold. Hiding in plain sight. It's perfect cover. No one would dare make a move at his own event. She looked at Roman. But we're going to. That's insane. That's the only option. We go to the gala, we confront him publicly, and we expose everything. He can't kill us if we're surrounded by witnesses. He'll have security. His people will be everywhere. Then we'll have to be smarter. She stood, adrenaline replacing exhaustion. We have 24 hours to prepare, to find allies, gather evidence, and figure out how to survive the most dangerous man I've ever known. Roman stood too, pulled her into his arms. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're not invisible anymore. She held him tight, breathing in his scent, memorizing the feel of his heartbeat, because in 24 hours, one of them might not survive. Me too, she whispered. They spent the day preparing. Ilara reached out to Natasha, who confirmed the architects' teams were tearing Manhattan apart looking for them. 3 safe houses compromised. 2 known associates questioned. The noose was tightening. We need more firepower, Roman said, studying their meager weapons cache. If we're walking into his gala, we're not going in guns blazing. We're going in with information. Ilara pulled up financial records she'd been analyzing. Thomas Graves is meticulous, but he's not perfect. He's been skimming from his clients for years, small amounts, nothing that raises flags individually. But together, she showed Roman the spreadsheet. He's stolen over $300 million. From people who hire him to commit crimes. Exactly. People who can't go to the police. She smiled grimly. But we don't need the police. We need his clients to turn on him. Roman caught on immediately. We expose the skimming at the gala, in front of everyone. His clients lose faith, his empire crumbles, and he loses the resources to come after us. It's not guaranteed to work, but it's a chance, better than running forever. He stood. How do we get into the gala? Leave that to me. She made a call, waited through several rings. Natasha, I need an invitation to Thomas Graves' charity event tomorrow night. For 2. Ilara, are you insane? He's hunting you, which is why he won't expect me to walk through his front door. Can you do it? A long pause. Then, give me 4 hours, but Ilara, if this goes wrong, I can't protect you. The architect's reach is too long. I know. Thank you, Natasha. She hung up. Roman was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. What? She asked. You're extraordinary. You know that I'm desperate. There's a difference. No. He moved closer. Desperate people panic. You strategize. Even with death breathing down your neck, you're 3 moves ahead. His hand cupped her face. I should have seen you 7 years ago. If you had, we wouldn't be here now. I needed to be invisible to build what we have. And what do we have, Ilara? The question hung between them, heavy with possibility and danger. They'd kissed, made promises, declared partnership, but neither had said the word that lurked beneath everything else. Love. Ilara opened her mouth, closed it. Before she could find words, her laptop chimed. Email from Natasha. 2 invitations to the gala complete with false identities and background documentation. We're in, she said, relieved and terrified by the interruption. If Roman noticed her avoidance, he didn't push. Then we should prepare. What do we need? Evening wear. I can't exactly show up in yesterday's dress. She pulled up a shopping interface. And we need a plan for getting the evidence out. Graves will have signal jammers, network security. What if we don't try to transmit? Roman interrupted. What if we go old school, print copies, distribute them physically at the event? Ilara considered. That could work, but we'd need a distraction, something to keep security occupied while we hand out the documents. Leave that to me. Roman made a call. Andrew, I need a favor, a big one. While Roman arranged their distraction, Ilara finalized the evidence packets. Financial records, shell company documentation, proof of Thomas Graves' systematic theft from his criminal clients. Each packet was damning, and together they painted a picture of a man who'd built his empire by betraying the people who trusted him most. Ironic, really. The architect had taught her that betrayal was the ultimate weapon. Now she was using it against him. Night fell. They slept in shifts, one always awake and watching. During her watch, Alara studied Thomas Graves's photo, trying to reconcile the distinguished gentleman with the mechanical voice that had promised her death. She'd worked for him for 3 years before coming to Roman. 3 years of assignments, of companies destroyed and lives ruined. She'd been good at it, too good, and she'd told herself it was just business, just strategy, until it wasn't. Until she'd been assigned to destroy Roman Vance and had realized that some things mattered more than success. Can't sleep, she turned. Roman stood in the doorway, hair mussed, wearing only pajama bottoms, vulnerable and human, and hers. Too much in my head, she admitted. He sat beside her on the couch. Want to share? I was thinking about choices, how one decision can change everything. She looked at him. 7 years ago, I chose to betray the architect and protect you. I've never regretted it. But tomorrow, she trailed off. Tomorrow we might die. Yes. Then let's not waste tonight. He pulled her close, and this kiss was different from the others, slower, deeper weighted with the knowledge that it might be their last. They made love on the safe house couch, desperate and tender, two people stealing moments before battle. Afterward, holding each other in the darkness, Alara finally said the words she'd been avoiding. I love you. Roman's arms tightened around her. I know. I've known since you first walked into that dinner, ready to burn your entire life down to protect mine. That's not love. That's insanity. With you, they're the same thing. He kissed her forehead. I love you too, Alara. And tomorrow we're going to survive this. Together. She wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. So she closed her eyes and let herself have this one moment of hope before the war began again. Morning came too soon. They drove back to Manhattan in silence, both lost in their own preparations. The gala was at 8 p.m. They had 10 hours to finalize everything. Alara's phone rang. Natasha. We have a problem. Of course we do. What now? Graves knows you're coming. I don't know how, but word is spreading through the underground. He's preparing something. Alara's blood chilled. A trap. Worse, he's invited every major player in the criminal underworld. The people whose money he stole. He's going to expose you as the source of the leaks, make you the scapegoat. That's... Alara's mind raced. That's actually brilliant. He turns his clients against me. I'm dead before I can expose him. So you're not going? No, we're going, but we're changing the play. She looked at Roman. He wants to make me the villain, fine. Let's give him a villain he can't control. They spent the afternoon preparing a new strategy. If Graves was going to blame her for the stolen money, she'd lean into it, but with a twist. She'd claim she'd stolen the money on Graves's orders, that she was his inside person, and that she had proof of every order he'd given. It was risky. If Graves's clients believed him instead of her, she was dead. But if she could sow enough doubt, create enough chaos, it'll work, Roman assured her for the 10th time as they dressed for the gala. Your evidence is solid, they'll believe you. And if they don't, he adjusted his bow tie, met her eyes in the mirror. Then we fight our way out. Together. The gala was at the Plaza Hotel, opulent, exclusive, dangerous. They arrived fashionably late, their fake IDs passing security without incident. Inside, Manhattan's elite mingled with criminals hiding behind corporate facades. And somewhere in this crowd was Thomas Graves waiting for her. She spotted him near the bar, silver-haired, distinguished, surrounded by admirers. He looked up as if sensing her presence, and their eyes met across the room. He smiled and raised his glass. A toast to his prey walking into the trap. Alara smiled back and raised hers. A toast to the predator who didn't realize the prey had teeth. Game on. They circulated separately, Roman working one side of the room while Alara took the other. She handed out evidence packets to Graves's clients, watched suspicion bloom on their faces. Is this real? One man asked Lorenzo Dante, arms dealer with a legitimate art gallery front. Every page. Thomas Graves has been stealing from you for years. From all of you. She leaned in. He's planning to blame me tonight. But ask yourself who has access to your accounts, who set up your offshore structures, him, not me. Lorenzo's eyes hardened. I'll look into this. Do it quickly. The show starts in 20 minutes. She moved through this crowd, planting seeds of doubt on watching Graves's empire begin to crack. Roman was doing the same on his side, and she could see the growing tension as clients compared notes, shared evidence, realized the scope of the betrayal. Then the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage where Graves stood, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight." His voice was warm, charming. "Before we begin the auction, I need to address an unfortunate situation. We have a thief among us." The crowd murmured. Alara felt every eye turned toward her. "Alara Quinn, or should I say Elena Volkov?" Graves smiled. "She's been stealing from my clients for years, using her position to access sensitive information. Tonight she's attempting to blame me for her crimes." "That's interesting," Alara called out, her voice carrying, "because I have recordings of every order you gave me, every theft you orchestrated, every client you betrayed." She pulled out a small device, pressed play. Graves's voice filled the room, digitally distorted but unmistakable, ordering her to skim from Lorenzo's accounts, to manipulate Chen's portfolio, to steal from everyone in this room. "Fake," Graves said smoothly. "Deep fake audio. Anyone can create those now." "Can they create these?" Roman stepped forward, holding up a tablet. "Blockchain verified transaction records. Every theft traced directly back to your personal accounts. Time-stamped, encrypted, irrefutable." The room erupted. Graves's client surged forward, demanding explanations. Security tried to maintain order, but the crowd was beyond control. Graves's mask finally slipped. Rage twisted his distinguished face into something ugly. "You stupid girl. You think you've won." He pulled out a phone, pressed one button. The doors slammed shut. Armed men appeared from the crowd, his cleaners hidden among the guests. "No one leaves until this is resolved," Graves announced. "Starting with you, Alara." The nearest cleaner raised his weapon. Alara dove behind a table as shots fired. Screams erupted. Chaos descended. Roman tackled another gunman wrestling for the weapon. Lorenzo and his people drew their own guns, returning fire. The gala dissolved into a battlefield. Alara scrambled toward the stage, toward Graves. If she could reach him, use him as leverage. A hand grabbed her ankle. She kicked backward, connected with bone, kept moving. Graves saw her coming, smiled. "I taught you everything, Alara. Did you really think you could beat me?" "No, Uk." She pulled out the gun she'd hidden in her dress. "I thought I'd have to shoot you." She fired. Graves dropped, clutching his shoulder. Not fatal, she'd aimed carefully. She needed him alive to answer for his crimes. The gunfire stopped as suddenly as it started. Graves's cleaners were down, overwhelmed by his own clients who'd turned on him. Roman appeared at her side, bruised but alive. "Is it over?" he asked. Sirens wailed outside. Someone had called the police, and Manhattan's finest were about to storm a ballroom full of criminals. "Not yet." Laura pulled Graves to his feet, pressed the gun to his head. Tell them everything you did." Graves laughed, blood on his teeth. "You won't shoot me. You're not that person anymore." "No," Alara agreed. "I'm worse. I'm the person who learned from you and chose to be better. Now talk, or I'll let Lorenzo have you." Graves looked at Lorenzo's furious face and made his calculation. "Fine, I stole from them, all of them. Used my position to skim millions. Is that what you want to hear?" "It's a start." Alara shoved him toward the clients he'd betrayed. "He's all yours." They left as the police stormed in, slipping out a service exit while chaos reigned behind them. In the alley, finally safe, finally free, they both started laughing, hysterical, relieved laughter born from survival. "We're alive," Roman said, disbelieving. "We're alive," Alara agreed. They drove to the safe house, neither speaking, both processing. The architect was finished. His empire was scattered. His clients wanted him dead. And Alara Quinn was finally truly free. Back at the safe house, she called Natasha. "It's done. I heard. The underground is lit up with the news. Graves is finished. You actually did it." "We did it." She looked at Roman. "Tell me about Kyle. Is he safe?" "Safe and secure. Your brother doesn't even know there was a threat. I made sure of that." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you, Natasha. Thank me by staying alive. The world is more interesting with you in it." She hung up. Roman was pouring scotch again, his hands shaking slightly. Adrenaline crash. "We should celebrate," he said. We just took down the architect. That's, that's impossible. Nothing's impossible, just improbable. She took the glass he offered, to visibility, to the woman who was worth seeing. He clinked his glass against hers. What happens now? Now we figure out what our partnership actually looks like, what we're building together. She paused. And we deal with whatever comes next, because there's always something next. Pessimist, realist. But she smiled, though right now I'm choosing to be optimistic. We survived the architect. We can survive anything. They toasted, drank, and for the first time in 7 years, Ilara felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. The hope lasted exactly 3 hours. Ilara woke to Roman's phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand. She reached over him. They'd fallen asleep tangled together on the safe house bed and saw 17 missed calls from his office. Roman! She shook his shoulder. Wake up. Something's wrong. He bolted upright, grabbing the phone. What time is it? 6 a.m. Your office has been calling nonstop. He dialed back, put it on speaker. His assistant answered on the first ring, voice frantic. Mr. Vance, thank God, you need to get here immediately. The SEC is in the building. They've frozen all our accounts. Ilara's stomach dropped. What? They're saying we're under investigation for corporate espionage and market manipulation. There are federal agents everywhere. They've seized our servers, our files, everything. Roman's face had gone pale. That's impossible. We haven't... It's Graves, Ilara interrupted, mind racing. His final play. Before we took him down, he must have filed evidence with the SEC. Fake evidence, probably, but enough to trigger an investigation. Can he do that? Roman demanded. He can do anything. He's the architect. She was already pulling on clothes. He knew we'd come after him, so he set a trap that springs even if he loses. We destroy him, we destroy ourselves. Roman hung up, started dressing with sharp, angry movements. So we go down there and explain and say what? That we crashed his charity gala and he confessed under duress that we have evidence he's a criminal mastermind, but it's all obtained illegally. She pulled her hair back. Roman, we can't fight this conventionally. The second we walk into that office, they'll arrest us. Then what do? She grabbed her laptop. We prove we're not the criminals, which means we need to find out exactly what evidence Graves gave them and dismantle it piece by piece. They drove back to Manhattan in tense silence, Ilara's fingers flying across her keyboard the entire time. She hacked into the SEC's preliminary filing system. Not easy, but she'd learned from the best and pulled up the case against Vance Industries. What she found made her blood run cold. Roman, stop the car. He pulled over. What is it? Graves didn't just file fake evidence. He filed 7 years of real evidence. She turned the screen toward him. Every deal I brokered for you, every company we absorbed, every competitor we outmaneuvered. He documented all of it and made it look like insider trading and market manipulation. But it wasn't. Everything we did was legal. Was it? She met his eyes. I was invisible, Roman. I had access to information no secretary should have. I used that information to make you millions. How do you think that looks to federal investigators? He stared at the evidence on screen: transaction records, email intercepts, documented patterns of suspicious timing. It was damning, and it was all true. He's framing us with the truth, Roman said slowly. Exactly. The architect's specialty. Take something real and twist the context until it becomes a weapon. She closed the laptop. We have maybe 6 hours before they issue arrest warrants. We need to disappear. No, Roman's voice was steel. I'm not running. I built this company legally. Everything I did was built on information I shouldn't have had. Roman, they're going to dig into my background. They're going to find Elena Volkov, and when they do, they're going to connect me to every illegal operation Graves ever ran. She grabbed his hand. If you stay, you go down with me. If you run, you might survive. We run together or we don't run at all. Damn it, Roman. This isn't about partnership anymore. This is about prison. Then we go to prison together. He pulled her close, fierce. I told you equal stakes, equal risks. I meant it. She wanted to argue to push him away for his own good, but the look in his eyes stopped her. He'd chosen her consequences and all. Okay, she whispered, then we need a miracle. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Quinn, the voice was female, professional, unfamiliar. My name is Director Sarah Chen, FBI. I need to speak with you about Thomas Graves. Alara's hand tightened on the phone. I'm listening. Not on this line. Meet me at the address I'm texting you. Alone, you have 1 hour. The line went dead. A text arrived with coordinates to a coffee shop in Brooklyn. That could be a trap, Roman said. Everything's a trap at this point. She checked the address, public place, lots of witnesses. But if the FBI wants to talk, maybe there's a way out of this. I'm coming with you. She said alone. I don't care. His jaw was set. We do this together or not at all. That's the rule now. They arrived at the coffee shop with 20 minutes to spare. Director Chen was already there, Asian woman in her 40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She gestured to the booth across from her. Mr. Vance, I said Ms. Quinn should come alone. And I'm her lawyer, Roman lied smoothly. Anything you say to her, you say in my presence. Chen's lips twitched. Fair enough. Sit. They sat. Alara's nerves were screaming, but she kept her face calm. Thomas Graves is dead, Chen said without preamble. The world tilted. Well, died in custody 3 hours ago. Apparent suicide. Cyanide capsule hidden in a false tooth. Chen slid a tablet across the table. But before he died, he gave a deathbed confession. Implicated you, Ms. Quinn, in 15 years of criminal activity. Corporate espionage, market manipulation, conspiracy to commit fraud. That's true mostly. We've been investigating Graves for 2 years. We know he ran a network of corporate operatives. We know you were one of them. Chen leaned forward. What we don't know is why you stopped working for him 7 years ago. Why you went dark. Why you chose to become a secretary instead of continuing as one of the world's best corporate spies. Ilara's mouth went dry. They knew. The FBI knew everything. I'm waiting, Ms. Quinn. Roman's hand found hers under the table. Anchor. Support. She took a breath. I was assigned to destroy Roman Vance's company. I spent 3 months preparing, gathering intelligence, finding weaknesses. She met Chen's eyes. And then I realized he was better than the people paying me. So I made a choice. I destroyed the evidence against him, went invisible, and spent 7 years building his empire instead of toppling it. That's quite the redemption story. It's the truth. Chen studied her for a long moment. Here's my problem. Graves's confession implicates you in crimes we can prove. You're looking at 20 years minimum. Unless what? Roman demanded. Unless Ms. Quinn cooperates. Graves ran a network. We have some names, but not all. We need someone who knows the system from the inside. Someone who can help us dismantle what he built. Chen pulled out a document. Immunity agreement. Full protection in exchange for testimony and cooperation. You help us catch the rest of his operatives, you walk free. Alara stared at the document. Freedom. A clean slate. Everything she'd been running from forgiven. What about the SEC investigation? Roman asked. We'll handle it. Ms. Quinn testifies that the information she provided to you was obtained through legal channels. You had no knowledge of her past. The SEC drops their case. And if she refuses, then you both go to prison. Him for conspiracy, her for everything. Chen's voice was matter of fact. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, arrest warrants go live. She left the immunity agreement on the table and walked out. Roman and Alara sat in stunned silence. You have to take it, Roman said finally. If I testify, I betray everyone I ever worked with. Natasha, the information brokers, everyone. Alara's hands shook. Some of them are criminals, but some of them are just people trying to survive. And Graves kept records. If I cooperate, the FBI gets access to everything. Better than prison. Is it? She looked at him. I spent 7 years being invisible to protect people. Now they want me to become visible and destroy them. How is that better? Because you get to live. Because we get to build something together. He gripped her shoulders. Alara, listen to me. You don't owe those people your freedom. You don't owe them your life. Don't I? They helped me when no one else would. They kept my secrets. Her phone rang. Natasha. Don't answer it, Roman warned. She answered it. Natasha, the FBI contacted you. It wasn't a question. They offered immunity. How did you buy him? Because they offered me the same deal 2 hours ago. Natasha's laugh was bitter. They're rounding us all up, Ilara. Everyone in Graves' network. They want to make examples of us. Did you take the deal? No, because I don't betray my own. Unlike some people. The accusation hung heavy. Are you going to testify against us? I don't know. Let me make this easy. If you take that deal, if you cooperate, I'll consider it an act of war. And so will everyone else you ever worked with. You'll be trading one kind of prison for another, looking over your shoulder forever waiting for revenge. Natasha, 24 hours, Ilara. Choose carefully. She hung up. Ilara stared at her phone, feeling trapped between impossible choices. What did she say? Roman asked. She said if I cooperate, everyone I used to work with will hunt me down. Ilara's voice was hollow. She's right. The underground doesn't forgive traitors. I take this deal, I'm dead anyway, just slower. Then we find another option. There is no other option. There's always another option. Roman started pacing. We just need to think. What does the FBI really want? To dismantle Graves's network. Right, but why? What's their endgame? Ilara's mind started working again, pushing through panic. They want to prove they can fight corporate espionage, make a big public case, show they were tough on white-collar crime. So give them that, but not through testimony, through something bigger. She looked up sharply. What are you thinking? Graves had records, right? Documentation of every operative, every operation. Yes, he was obsessive about keeping leverage. Then we find those records. We give them to the FBI anonymously. They get their big case, they don't need your testimony. Roman, she paused. That's actually brilliant. But Graves's records would have been seized when he was arrested. They're in federal custody. Are they? Or did Graves have backups? Ilara's pulse quickened. Of course Graves had backups. The architect never trusted anyone, especially not law enforcement. If he had backups, they'd be somewhere secure, somewhere only he knew about. She pulled out her laptop, somewhere he could access remotely if needed. She started searching, hacking into Graves's old servers that the FBI hadn't found yet. His security was good, but she'd learned from him. She knew his patterns, his paranoia. After 2 hours, she found it. Cloud storage, triple encrypted, hidden behind a dummy corporation. She showed Roman the screen. Everything, every operative, every operation, 15 years of documentation. Can you access it? I can, but if I download it, Graves's security protocols will wipe the whole system. I get one shot. Then we better not miss. They went back to the safe house. Ilara set up a secure download protocol, routing it through 17 different servers to hide the origin. If this worked, the FBI would receive the files anonymously. If it failed, everything would be destroyed and their one chance at freedom would evaporate. Ready? Roman asked. No, but let's do it anyway. She initiated the download. Progress bar crept forward, 1%, 5%, 10%. Her heart hammered against her ribs. At 47%, alarms started blaring on her screen. What's happening? Roman demanded. Security countermeasures. Graves programmed them to activate if anyone accessed the files. She typed, frantically countering each layer of defense. He's trying to lock me out, even from beyond the grave. Can you beat it? I'm trying, 67%. The alarms intensified. Her laptop was heating up, processors straining. Ilara, if this crashes. I know. She was sweating now, fingers flying faster than thought. Graves had taught her well, but had he taught her well enough to beat his own system? 89%. A new message flashed, final security protocol activated. File destruction in 60 seconds. No, no, no. She dove deeper into the code, searching for the kill switch she knew had to exist. Graves was too paranoid not to have an escape hatch. 30 seconds. Ilara. I've got it. She found the back door, entered the override code she'd memorized from 3 years ago when she'd watched Graves access his files. Please still work. Please. 10 seconds. The destruction sequence halted. The progress bar jumped to 100%. Download complete. Ilara slumped back, shaking. We have it. All of it. Roman pulled her into his arms and she let herself collapse against him for just a moment. Then she straightened, got back to work. Uploading to the FBI now, anonymous drop. They'll have everything by morning. And then we wait and hope it's enough. They spent that night holding each other, neither sleeping. By dawn, news broke that the FBI had received a massive cache of documents detailing a 15-year corporate espionage ring. Names, operations, evidence, everything. Director Chen called at 7 a.m. "I don't know how you did it, Ms. Quinn, but I'm impressed." Her voice was drawn. "The documents you definitely didn't illegally download and anonymously send us are genuine. We're making arrests across 3 continents." "What about the immunity deal?" Ilara asked carefully. "Consider it accepted retroactively. You've given us more than testimony ever could. The SEC investigation into Vance Industries is being dropped. You're free, Ms. Quinn, both of you." The relief was so intense, Ilara thought she might pass out. "Thank you. Don't thank me, just stay out of trouble." A pause. "Though I have a feeling trouble finds you whether you want it or not." Chen hung up. Roman grabbed Ilara, lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. "We did it. We're free." She laughed, dizzy with relief and exhaustion. "We're free." They held each other as the sun rose over Connecticut, as federal agents across the world arrested the remnants of Graves's network as their impossible gamble paid off in ways they'd barely dared hope. But in the back of her mind, Ilara heard Natasha's warning, "Choose carefully." She'd chosen. She'd betrayed the underground to save herself and Roman, and now she'd have to live with those consequences. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "You made your choice, now we make ours." She deleted it, but the damage was done. The underground knew, and they wouldn't forgive. "What's wrong?" Roman asked, seeing her expression. "Nothing." She forced a smile. "Just ghosts." They returned to Manhattan that afternoon. The office was in chaos, employees confused by the federal raid, clients demanding explanations, the board calling emergency meetings. Roman addressed them all in the main conference room. The SEC investigation was a misunderstanding, now resolved. Vance Industries is stronger than ever, and I'm pleased to officially announce my new partner, Ilara Quinn, who many of you have underestimated for years. Scattered applause, some genuine, most uncertain. Ilara stood beside him, fully visible now, and felt the weight of every judgmental stare. One board member, Gerald Harrison, old money and older prejudices, stood up. "With all due respect, Roman, this woman was your secretary last week. How can she possibly? She ran half this company from behind that desk while you were playing golf." Roman interrupted. "She has more strategic insight than our entire analytics department, and she just saved us from federal prosecution." Any other questions? Silence. Gerald sat down, red-faced. "Good. Meeting adjourned." As people filed out, Ilara felt the shift. She was no longer invisible, but she wasn't accepted either. She was the outsider who'd risen too fast, the secretary who'd seduced the boss, the woman who didn't deserve her position. Let them think it. She'd survived worse than office gossip. Daniel approached her hesitantly. "Ms. Quinn, I just wanted to say, I always thought you were capable of more. I'm glad Mr. Vance finally saw it too." "Thank you, Daniel." It was a small kindness, but she appreciated it. As the office slowly returned to normal, or the new version of normal, Ilara set up her new workspace. Not outside Roman's office anymore, but in the partner's suite beside it. Equal space, equal authority. She was arranging files when her computer chimed. Email from an encrypted address. "You betrayed us. There's a price for that. Ask Vincent Castellano." Her blood froze. Castellano. She'd forgotten about Castellano in the chaos with Graves. She called his office immediately. His secretary answered, voice shaking. "I'm sorry, Mr. Castellano isn't available. He's in the hospital." "What happened?" "There was an accident. A car crash. The police say brake lines were cut." The secretary was crying now. "Someone tried to kill him." Ilara hung up, mind racing. Castellano was a message. The underground was showing her what happened to people who crossed them. She pulled up security footage from the building, checking for threats. Nothing obvious, but that didn't mean nothing was there. "Roman," she called out. He appeared in her doorway immediately. "We have a problem." She told him about Castellano, about the message. His face darkened. "So the underground is coming after you." "After us. They know we're partners. They'll use you to hurt me." Then we increase security, hire bodyguards, move to a secure location. "Roman, these aren't thugs. These are professional operatives trained by the architect. Security won't stop them." "Then what do we do?" She started pacing. We make ourselves too valuable to kill. If the underground wants revenge, they'll have to weigh it against what we can offer them. What can we offer professional criminals? Protection, information, money. Her mind was spinning strategies. We build our own network, bigger than Graves's, better, and we offer them the choice: join us or fight us. That's insane. That's survival. She grabbed his hands. Roman, I spent 7 years being invisible. Now I'm visible, and that means I'm a target. The only way to stop being prey is to become the predator. He stared at her for a long moment. You're talking about building a criminal empire. I'm talking about building an empire that operates in the shadows and the light. Legal business on top, strategic intelligence underneath. We use what I know about the underground to protect ourselves and our interests, and become exactly what we just helped the FBI destroy. No, we become what Graves should have been: ethical operators in an unethical world. We don't betray our people. We don't steal from our clients. We play by rules Graves never understood. Roman released her hands, moved to the window, looked out over Manhattan, their kingdom, their burden. If we do this, he said slowly, there's no going back. We'll be operating outside the law, living in moral gray zones, risking everything we've built. Yes, and you think it's worth it? I think it's necessary. The underground won't stop coming. Castellano's crash was just the first message. They'll escalate. They'll hurt people we care about. Unless we show them we're not victims, we're players. He turned to face her. Then we play. But we play smart, and we never ever betray each other. Never, she agreed. They shook hands, sealing a deal that would either save them or destroy them. Over the next week, Alara reached out to her old contacts carefully, selectively. Some refused to speak to her. She'd crossed a line, betrayed the code. But others listened, and a few, the smart ones, agreed to meet. Natasha was the hardest call. When she finally answered, her voice was ice. You have nerve calling me. I know, but I have a proposition. I don't work with traitors. Graves is dead. His network is destroyed. The FBI has everything. You can either run forever or you can join something new. Alara took a breath. I'm building a network. Clean money, legitimate operations with strategic intelligence underneath. A place where your skills matter and you're protected. Interested. Silence. Then what's the catch? No catch, just loyalty. You work with us, we protect you. You betray us, we end you. That sounds familiar. I'm not Graves, Natasha. I don't rule through fear. I rule through trust. Trust, Natasha laughed bitterly. From the woman who just handed the FBI our entire world. I handed them Graves' world. Mine is different, better. Join me and see. Another long silence. I'll think about it. It wasn't yes, but it wasn't no. Progress. Others were easier. Information brokers who'd lost their protector and needed a new one. Analysts who'd worked for Graves and wanted a second chance. Even a few of Graves's former operatives who saw which way the wind was blowing. Within 2 weeks, Alara had built the foundation of a network. Small, but growing, and completely under her control. Roman watched with fascination and horror as his partner transformed into something he'd never quite expected: a criminal mastermind with a conscience. You're scary, you know that, he told her one night as they reviewed the network structure. I learned from the best, and then I improved on his methods. By being ethical, by being smart, Graves ruled through fear, but fear creates resentment. Loyalty creates power. She looked at him. Do you regret this, the path we're taking? Every day. He pulled her close. But I don't regret you. Whatever we're building it together. That's enough. She kissed him, trying to believe his words, trying to ignore the voice in her head that whispered she was becoming exactly what she'd run from 7 years ago. The month ended with one final message from the underground. A package delivered to their office, no return address. Inside was a simple note. We're watching. Prove you're different from Graves or prove you're not. Either way, we'll be waiting. And underneath a photo, her and Roman taken yesterday walking into the office together. The message was clear. The underground had eyes everywhere. They could strike anytime. But Alara looked at the photo and felt something unexpected. Not fear, challenge. Let them watch. Let them wait. She'd been invisible for 7 years, hunted for a month. Now she was building something new. And this time she wouldn't hide. She'd conquer. The photo sat on Alara's desk for 3 days. She didn't throw it away, didn't hide it. She propped it against her computer monitor where she could see it every time she looked up. Roman thought she was losing it. "You're using a death threat as motivation?" he asked on the third morning, bringing her coffee. "I'm using it as a reminder." She sipped eyes on the surveillance photo. "The underground thinks they can intimidate me. I need to remember they're wrong. Or they're right and you're in denial." Also possible. She finally looked away from the photo, met his concerned gaze. "Vincent Castellano woke up yesterday. Hospital called to say he's asking for me." "That's a trap." "Everything's a trap. I'm going anyway." "Then I'm coming with you." "No." She stood, gathered her things. "He's paranoid. He'll only talk to me alone. And Roman, I need to know what the underground is planning. Castellano might be our only source." "Alara, I'll be fine. I've survived worse than a hospital visit." She kissed him quickly. "Besides, it's a public place. Lots of witnesses. What could go wrong?" Everything as it turned out. The hospital was upscale private, the kind where celebrities recovered from plastic surgery and politicians hid their mistresses. Castellano's room was on the 10th floor, 2 armed guards outside. They searched her thoroughly before letting her in. No phone, no weapons, nothing but herself. Castellano looked like hell. Bandages covered half his face, his left arm in a cast, monitors beeping steadily. But his eyes were sharp when she entered. "Ms. Quinn, how kind of you to visit. I heard you had an accident." "Accident?" He laughed, winced at the pain. "Is that what we're calling attempted murder now?" She pulled up a chair, sat carefully. "Who did it?" "You tell me. You're the one who betrayed the underground." He studied her face. "They sent a message through me. Consider it delivered." "What was the message?" "That you're next, that no amount of money or power will protect you, that you chose the wrong side when you gave Graves's files to the FBI. He coughed and blood flecked his lips. "They're not just angry, Alara. They're unified. Every operative, every broker, every contact, they all want you dead." Her stomach churned, but she kept her voice steady. "Then why are you telling me this? You hate me as much as they do." "I did, but then someone tried to kill me to prove a point, and I realized something." His good hand gripped the bed rail. "You and I, we're not so different. We both played Graves' game and lost. The difference is you're still playing and I'm done. What do you want, Vincent?" "I want out. Out of the game, out of the city, out of this life. But I can't leave until I know my family is safe." His voice cracked. "My daughter, Sophia. She's 17. She doesn't know what I do, what I've done. But the underground doesn't care about innocence. They'll use her to hurt me. And you want me to protect her. I want you to get her out, take her somewhere safe, somewhere the underground can't reach. Do that and I'll tell you everything I know about their plans." Ilara's mind raced. Protecting Castellano's daughter meant pulling resources, exposing her own network. But the intelligence he could provide. "Where is she now?" "Boarding school in Connecticut. She comes home this weekend. That's when they'll strike, I'm sure of it. Too public, too many witnesses for them to kill her. They'll snatch her, use her as leverage. Against you or against me? Both." He closed his eyes. "Please, Alara. I know I don't deserve your help. But she does. She's innocent." The word hung between them, innocent, something neither of them had been in years. "I'll protect her," Alara said finally. "But you tell me everything. Names, locations, plans, everything." "Deal." He talked for an hour. The underground had formed a coalition, 30 operatives, all united in their desire to eliminate Alara Quinn. They'd elected a leader, someone Castellano refused to name over the phone lines they both knew were monitored. "But I'll give you one piece of information that'll help," he said as she prepared to leave. "The leader. She's someone you know, someone you trust." Alara's blood turned cold. "Who?" "Figure it out. Because when you do, you'll realize just how deep the betrayal goes." She left the hospital with more questions than answers, and a terrible suspicion growing in her gut. Someone she knew, someone she's trusted. The list was short, and every name on it made her sick. Roman was waiting in the car, looking ready to storm the building. "Well, we have a problem. Multiple problems. She told him about Sophia, about the coalition, about the mysterious leader. And we need to move fast this weekend, 3 days. Can we trust Castellano? No, but we can verify. She pulled out the phone the guards hadn't found hidden in her bra, old spy trick. I'm calling Natasha. Is that smart if she's the leak? Then I need to know now. Natasha answered on the third ring. Alara, to what do I owe the displeasure? I need information about a coalition. 30 operatives united against me. What do you know? Silence. Then where did you hear about that? So it's real. Very real and very dangerous. They're calling themselves the Vindicated. Cute, right? Natasha's voice dripped sarcasm. They meet tomorrow night, planning session for your execution. Where? Why would I tell you that? Because I'm giving you a choice right now, Natasha. Join my network or join theirs. But you don't get to sit on the fence anymore. Another silence, longer this time. You're serious about this network thing. Deadly serious. I'm building something better than Graves ever had. Cleaner, stronger. Join me and you're protected. Refuse and she let the threat hang. You'll come after me. The Vindicated will come after both of us eventually. At least with me, you have a fighting chance. She heard Natasha exhale slowly. Fine, I'm in. But Alara, if you screw me over, I'll make Graves look merciful. Noted. Now tell me where they're meeting. Warehouse in Queens, abandoned and shipping facility. They think it's secure. A pause. The leader is already there setting up. You want a name? Yes. Then you're not going to like it. Natasha took a breath. It's Sandra Reeves, Castellano's board member, the one you saved from him. The world tilted. Sandra, the woman she'd freed from Castellano's blackmail. The woman who'd seemed so grateful, so relieved. That's impossible. I helped her, and she helped herself to the power vacuum you created. When you destroyed Graves's network, someone had to fill, but she stepped up. Natasha's voice was grim. And she hates you, Alara. Not for what you did to Graves, for what you did to her father's company. Castellano liquidated it anyway after the gala. She blames you for not stopping him in time. Alara leaned back against the car seat, feeling betrayed and stupid. I saved her from Castellano. You saved her from one monster by unleashing another. The underground doesn't forget, and neither does she. After Natasha hung up, Alara sat in silence. Roman didn't push, just waited. Sandra Reeves, she finally said. She's leading the Vindicated. The woman from the dinner, the board member. I freed her from Castellano's blackmail, and apparently she decided that made me responsible for everything that happened after. Alara's laugh was bitter. Good deed road to hell, all that. So what do? We crash their meeting tomorrow night, and we make Sandra an offer she can't refuse. That's insane. 30 trained operatives. We'll be expecting an attack, so we won't attack. We'll negotiate. She turned to him. I'm done running, Roman. Done hiding. If the Vindicated wants war, they'll get it. But first, I'm giving them a chance to choose peace. And if they choose war, then we make sure we win. They spent the next day preparing. Alara reached out to the operatives she'd recruited, 15 people so far. Former Graves employees who'd seen the FBI coming and jumped ship early. Not enough to fight the Vindicated head-on, but enough to make a statement. We go in strong, but not hostile, she briefed them in a secure conference room. Show of force, not show of violence. Sandra wants to paint me as a traitor. We show her I'm a leader. What if they attack anyway, asked Marcus. No relation to the other Marcus. Thank God. This one was a former military intelligence officer who'd worked freelance for Graves. Then you have permission to respond, but nobody fires first. Understood. Nods all around. These were professionals. They knew the game. That night, Alara dressed for war. Not the elegant dress from the Castellano dinner, but tactical clothes, black, flexible, bulletproof vest hidden underneath. Roman insisted on the same. I'm coming with you, he said, for the 10th time. I know. I'm not fighting you on it anymore. She checked her weapon, loaded safety on. Just stay close and don't play hero. That's my line. They arrived at the warehouse at midnight. The Vindicated's meeting was scheduled for 1 a.m., but Alara wanted to scout first, assess the situation. What she found made her blood run cold. The warehouse wasn't just occupied by the Vindicated. There were other groups, two rival networks, independent contractors, even some of Graves's former clients. 50 people, maybe more. This isn't a planning meeting, Marcus whispered beside her. This is a tribunal. He was right. Sandra had gathered everyone with a grudge against Alara Quinn and offered them a chance for revenge. Public execution disguised as justice. We need to leave, Roman hissed. Now. This is a trap. No, Ilara's voice was steady even as her heart hammered. This is an opportunity. Sandra thinks she's put me on trial. Let's see how she handles it when I show up as my own defense. That's suicide. That's strategy. She stepped out of hiding. And it's starting right now. She walked through the warehouse entrance, her team flanking her, Roman at her side. 50 pairs of eyes turned to watch. Sandra stood on a raised platform at the far end. When she saw Alara, her smile was pure poison. Alara Quinn, how kind of you to attend your own execution. Is that what this is? I thought it was a meeting. Alara's voice carried across the space. Funny I didn't get an invitation. You lost invitation privileges when you betrayed us to the FBI. I destroyed Graves's network, not ours. There's a difference. Not to the 15 operatives currently in federal custody because of your files. Sandra descended from the platform, moved through the crowd. You handed them everything. Names, operations, evidence. Some of them are looking at life sentences. They were working for a man who stole from his own clients, who threatened families, who ruled through fear. Alara met her gaze. I gave them exactly what they deserved. And who are you to decide that you worked for Graves too? You did his dirty work for years. And then I stopped. I chose a different path. I'm choosing it again now. She addressed the crowd. I'm building a new network. Clean money, legitimate operations. A place where your skills matter and you're protected. No betrayals, no stolen funds, no ruling through fear. Pretty words, Sandra sneered. But why should anyone trust you? You're the woman who destroyed an entire network to save yourself. I destroyed a corrupt network to build something better. There's a difference. Alara stepped closer to Sandra. You want to kill me, fine. But first hear my offer. Join me. All of you. Bring your skills, your contacts, your expertise. In return, you get protection, resources, and a share of legitimate profits. And if we refuse, then you stay into the shadows, always looking over your shoulder, waiting for the FBI to find you, or for the next Graves to use you up and throw you away. She raised her voice. I'm offering you a choice, a real choice, not coercion, not fear, just opportunity. The warehouse was silent. Alara could feel the balance tipping, people weighing their options. Then someone in the crowd spoke up. What about the people you sent to prison? What about them? They made their choices. They got caught. I'm offering everyone here a chance to not end up like them. She paused. Unless you'd prefer to keep doing things the old way, Graves's way, where loyalty is bought with blackmail and success is measured in who you've destroyed. More silence. Then shockingly, someone started clapping. Slow, deliberate applause. It was Natasha stepping forward from the crowd. She's right, you know. Graves was a bastard. He used all of us. Alara's offering something different. She's offering lies, Sandra snapped. Pretty promises that'll evaporate the moment it's convenient. Then prove it. The challenge came from a man Alara didn't recognize. You want us to trust you? Give us something now. Something real. Alara thought fast. What could she offer? What would prove her sincerity? Then it hit her. Information, she said. Right now, I'll give you information worth millions. Free, no strings attached. She pulled out her phone, pulled up encrypted files. The FBI's target list for the next 6 months. Every operation they're planning, every person they're watching. You can use it to disappear or to protect yourselves. Your choice. She sent the file to an open server, made it accessible to everyone. Phones buzzed around the warehouse as people verified what she'd just given them. This is real, someone breathed. She just handed us federal intelligence. Probably fake, Sandra argued, but her voice had lost its certainty. It's not fake. I have contacts inside the bureau. Consider it a signing bonus. Alara looked around at the crowd. I'm not Graves. I don't rule through fear. I don't betray my people. And I'm done proving myself. Either join me or don't, but make your choice now. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Natasha stepped fully forward, crossing the invisible line between the vindicated and Alara's side. I'm in. Marcus Hermarcus followed. Me too. One by one, operatives made their choices. Some stayed with Sandra, but many more crossed to Alara's side. By the time the movement stopped, Sandra's coalition had shrunk from 50 to maybe 20, and her face was twisted with rage. You're making a mistake, she hissed at the defectors. Maybe, Natasha replied, but it's ours to make. Sandra turned to Alara. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You lost the moment you called this meeting. You wanted to put me on trial. Instead, you showed everyone that I'm the better option. Alara moved closer, lowered her voice so only Sandra could hear. I'm sorry about your father's company. Truly, but that wasn't my fault. It was Castellano's. And if you'd come to me instead of trying to kill me, I might have helped you rebuild. I don't want your help. Then you can have my indifference. Walk away, Sandra. Take your remaining followers and disappear. Because if you come after me again, I won't show mercy. Sandra stared at her for a long moment, hatred burning in her eyes. Then she turned and walked out, her reduced coalition following. The warehouse emptied slowly. Alara's new recruits stayed behind, looking at her with expressions ranging from hope to suspicion. Now what? Natasha asked. Now we start building. Alara felt the weight of 30 new lives pressing down on her shoulders. I promised you protection and profit. I intend to deliver both. But first we have a more immediate problem. She told them about Sofia Castellano, about the threat against an innocent girl. To her surprise, several operatives volunteered immediately. I've got a daughter, one woman said, same age. I'll help. Others nodded agreement, and Alara realized with stunning clarity that she'd done something Graves never had. She'd built loyalty not through fear, but through shared values. These people weren't following her because they had to. They were following because they wanted to. That night, they planned Sofia's extraction. Roman coordinated with his security team. Alara mapped routes and contingencies, and her new network provided intelligence on potential threats. This is insane, Roman said around 3 a.m., rubbing his exhausted eyes. Yesterday, you were fighting for your life. Today, you're running a criminal network. Tomorrow, you're rescuing a mob boss's daughter. Where does it end? I don't know, but we're committed now. She looked at the faces of her team, all working with focused intensity. These people trust me, Roman. I can't let them down. You trust them. She thought about it. Natasha, who'd betrayed her once but chose her again. Marcus, who'd followed her into the warehouse knowing he might die. The woman who volunteered to protect Sofia because she had a daughter the same age. I'm learning to, she said finally. Friday came. Sofia Castellano's school released students at noon. Alara had 3 teams positioned, one at the school, one on the route home, one at the Castellano estate. She waited in a surveillance van with Roman watching monitors as Sofia emerged from the building. 17, dark hair, completely unaware she was in danger. She looks so young, Roman murmured. She is young, too young for this world. Alara keyed her comm, teams Alpha and Bravo status. Alpha in position, no hostiles visible. Bravo ready, route is clear. Sofia got into a car, not a family vehicle, Alara noted with alarm. A hired car driver, unknown. That's wrong, she said sharply. Castellano said she'd be picked up by the family driver. Who is that? Her tech specialist zoomed in on the driver's face, ran it through facial recognition. No match. Whoever he is, he's not in any database. He's vindicated, Alara breathed. They grabbed her already. Teams pursue that vehicle. Code red. The chase lasted 20 minutes through Connecticut back roads. Alara's team was good, but the driver was better trained professional, taking evasive maneuvers that spoke of military experience. We're losing him. Alpha team reported. No, you're not. Alara was already moving, grabbing keys. Roman, you drive. I'm going to get that girl. They caught up to the vehicle at a red light. Alara jumped out while they were startled, moving, wrenched open the back door and pulled Sofia out. The girl screamed. The driver reached for a weapon. Alara's gun was faster. Drive away now or die, she told him. He calculated his odds, decided correctly, and drove away. Smart man. Sofia was still screaming, fighting. Alara grabbed her shoulders. Sofia Castellano, your father sent me. You're in danger. Please trust me. I don't know you. I know, but your father does. Call him right now. Verify I'm telling the truth. Sophia's hands shook as she dialed. Alara heard Castellano's voice. Sophia, thank God. Is Alara with you? There's a woman who says, do exactly what she tells you. Your life depends on it. Sophia lowered the phone slowly. Who are you? Someone trying to keep you alive. Come on, we need to move. They got Sophia to a safe house, not Alara's, a new one set up specifically for this operation. Castellano called as soon as they arrived. Thank you, he said simply. You kept your word. And now you keep yours. Tell me about Sandra's plans. He told her everything. The Vindicated weren't just after Alara. They were planning to dismantle her entire network piece by piece. Hit her contacts, her resources, her reputation. Death by 1,000 cuts. But Sandra had made one critical mistake. She'd assumed Alara would operate like Graves' secretive, paranoid, isolated. She'd never considered that Alara might build something based on trust instead of fear. She's going to hit your financial operations next, Castellano finished. Tuesday, your largest accounts. She's got inside information from someone in your network. A traitor. Of course, there was always a traitor. Do you know who? Alara asked. No, but they're close to you, someone you trust completely. After hanging up, Alara gathered her core team, Natasha, Marcus, Roman, and 5 others she'd come to rely on. We have a leak, she said without preamble. Someone here is feeding information to Sandra Reeves, and they're planning to help her destroy our financial operations Tuesday. The room erupted in protest denials, everyone swearing it wasn't them. I believe you, Alara said, though she wasn't sure she did. But belief doesn't change facts. Someone is betraying us. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to feed different information to each of you, see which version reaches Sandra, and then we're going to know exactly who the traitor is. It was a test. A cruel one maybe, but necessary. She spent the weekend implementing her plan, feeding carefully crafted lies to each core team member. Different account numbers, different transfer times, different operational details. Then she waited to see which version Sandra would attack. Monday morning, her phone rang. Director Chen from the FBI. Miss Quinn, I thought you should know Sandra Reeves was arrested an hour ago. Alara's heart stopped. What? Hi. Anonymous tip led us to a warehouse full of stolen goods and evidence of multiple felonies. She's looking at 20 years. A pause. The tip came from your IP address. Ice flooded Alara's veins. I didn't send any tip. Then someone using your computer did. Which means either you're lying or someone very close to you wanted Sandra out of the way. Chen hung up. Alara sat frozen, her mind racing. Someone had used her computer to frame Sandra. Someone with access to her office, her systems, her trust. The traitor hadn't been feeding information to Sandra. They'd been setting her up, using Alara's paranoia about a leak to distract from their real goal, eliminating Sandra and taking her place as the Underground's leader. And Alara had played right into their hands. She looked up at her core team still gathered in her office, still waiting for instructions. One of them was the real threat. One of them had just orchestrated Sandra's arrest and positioned themselves to take control. But which one? Meeting adjourned, she said quietly. Everyone out, now. They filed out, confusion on their faces, all except Roman, who stayed. What just happened? He asked. I was played. We were all played. She pulled up her computer logs, started searching. Someone used my terminal to send an anonymous tip to the FBI. They framed Sandra, removed her from the board, and now they're in position to take over the Vindicated. Roman finished. Who has access to your computer? Everyone. Her entire core team had been in and out of her office all weekend. I don't know, she admitted, but I'm going to find out. She spent the next 3 hours reviewing security footage, computer logs, access records. And slowly and possibly, a pattern emerged. The person who'd used her computer had logged in at 3 a.m. Sunday. The only people with her passwords were her core team. But the security footage showed only one person in the building at that time. Natasha, her ally, her friend, the woman who'd crossed the warehouse floor to join her side. Alara's hands shook as she pulled up Natasha's file. Dove deeper, found encrypted communications she'd missed before. Natasha hadn't joined Alara's network to help her. She'd joined to take control from the inside, to eliminate Sandra, to position herself as the Underground's new leader, and to use Alara's resources to do it. And Alara had trusted her completely. The betrayal cut deeper than any of Graves's knives ever had. Roman found her an hour later still staring at the evidence. What did you find? Natasha. The name tasted like ashes. She's been playing us from the beginning. She got Sandra arrested. She's been consolidating power. And now, Alara pulled up the final piece of evidence. She's planning to kill me tomorrow night. Make it look like Sandra's remaining followers. Take over the network clean. We arrest her. Turn her over to who the FBI were operating outside the law, Roman. We can't exactly call the police. She stood, exhaustion and betrayal warring in her chest. No, we handle this ourselves. The old-fashioned way. Meaning I confront her, give her one chance to explain, and then I do what has to be done. She called Natasha, voice steady. We need to meet, tonight, alone. What's wrong? Everything, but we'll discuss it in person. Usual place. 1 hour. She hung up before Natasha could ask questions. Roman grabbed her arm. You can't go alone. If she's planning to kill you, then she'll try, and I'll be ready. She checked her weapon, her backup weapon, the knife in her boot. But Roman, if I don't come back, you know what to do. Burn it all down. Exactly. She drove to the meeting place, a warehouse in Brooklyn, different from the Queens location, but equally isolated. Natasha was already there, leaning against a wall, looking casual. Alara, what's the emergency? You tell me. Alara kept her distance, hand near her weapon. When did you decide to betray me before the warehouse meeting after? Or was it always the plan? Natasha's casual expression didn't change. I don't know what you're talking about. Sandra's arrest, my computer, the anonymous tip. Alara pulled out her phone, showed the evidence. You set her up, used my system to do it, and now you're positioning yourself to take over. For a long moment, Natasha said nothing. Then she smiled, cold, calculating, nothing like the friend Alara thought she knew. I knew you'd figure it out eventually. I just hoped it would take longer. The confirmation hit like a physical blow. Why, Huyen? Because you're weak, Alara. You think you can build a criminal empire on trust and loyalty, please. Graves had the right idea, rule through fear, through leverage, through control. You're playing at being a crime boss. I'm actually doing it. By betraying me, by taking what should have been mine from the beginning. You think you're special? You're not. You're just another operative who got lucky. Natasha pushed off the wall. But your luck runs out tonight. She pulled a weapon. Alara's was already drawn. They stood facing each other, two women who'd once been allies, now enemies in the oldest dance of all. Don't do this, Alara said quietly. Walk away, disappear. I'll give you 24 hours head start. So you can hunt me down later. No thanks. Natasha's finger tightened on the trigger. Any last words? Yes, Alara's voice was steel. You should have checked for backup. Lights blazed. Roman emerged from the shadows with her entire security team. Natasha was surrounded, outgunned, outplayed. Her weapon wavered. This isn't over. Yes, Alara said softly. It is. She walked forward, took Natasha's gun. You taught me something tonight. Trust is complicated, but betrayal. Betrayal is simple, and it ends one way. She could have killed Natasha, should have by the rules they both knew, but something stopped her. Some last vestige of the woman who'd chosen mercy over murder 7 years ago. Go, she said instead. Leave the country, change your name, build a new life. But if I ever see you again, if you ever come near me or mine, I won't hesitate next time. Natasha stared at her. You're letting me go. I'm showing you the mercy you never would have shown me. Consider it a lesson in how my network operates differently. She stepped back. Now get out of my sight. Natasha ran, and Alara watched her go, feeling something inside her break and rebuild simultaneously. She'd been betrayed by everyone from Graves to Sandra to Natasha. But she was still standing, still building, still choosing to be better than the world that had made her. Roman came to her side. You should have killed her. I know, but then I'd be Graves, and I'm done being him. She turned to her security team. Spread the word. Natasha Volkov is exiled. Anyone who works with her, talks to her, or helps her will answer to me. She's a ghost now. They nodded and dispersed. Alone with Roman, Alara finally let herself collapse. I'm so tired of being betrayed. Then stop trusting the wrong people. He held her close. Trust me. Trust yourself, but stop expecting honor from criminals. I was a criminal once, and you chose to be better. Not everyone makes that choice. He kissed her forehead. But you did, and that matters. They drove back to the office as dawn broke over Manhattan. A new day, a new chance to build something better. Ilara's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Congratulations on surviving Natasha. But she was just the beginning. The real test starts now, she showed Roman. He sighed. Of course it does. When does it ever end? Never, that's the price of visibility. But she smiled, tired and fierce. Good thing I'm done hiding. She deleted the message and kept moving forward, because that's what survivors did. They survived. The real test came 24 hours later, in the form of a certified letter delivered to Ilara's office by a lawyer she'd never met. She opened it with Roman watching her hands steady despite the exhaustion that had seeped into her bones. Inside was a single page typed in formal legal language that made her blood run cold. It's a lawsuit, she said flatly, from the families of the operatives currently in federal prison because of Graves's files. Roman took the letter, read it quickly. They're suing you for $200 million, claiming wrongful disclosure, breach of confidentiality, emotional distress. Jesus, Ilara, this is everything. It's coordinated. Someone organized this. She pulled out her phone, started making calls. This isn't about money. It's about destroying my credibility, making me radioactive to anyone who might join the network. Who would have the reach to organize 15 different families? The answer came before she could voice it. Her office door opened and a man walked in, 50s expensive suit, the kind of presence that commanded attention without trying. Ms. Quinn, Mr. Vance, I'm Richard Blackwood. I believe we need to talk. Roman moved to block him. You need an appointment. I need 5 minutes. After that, you can decide if you want me arrested or if you want to hear my solution to your current legal nightmare. Blackwood sat without being invited, perfect confidence. Clock's ticking. Ilara waved Roman off. Talk. I represent a consortium of investors. We've been watching your little empire building with great interest. The way you dismantled Graves, outmaneuvered Castellanos, survived. The vindicated, impressive. But now you're facing a coordinated legal attack that will bankrupt you within months. He pulled out a tablet, slid it across her desk. Unless you accept our backing. She looked at the numbers on screen and felt her heart stop. $300 million in immediate legal defense funds. Another $500 million in operational capital. Resources that would make her network unstoppable. What's the catch? We want 60% ownership of your network. You keep operational control, but we own the majority stake. Think of us as silent partners with very deep pockets. Silent partners who own more than half. Ilara pushed the tablet back. That's not partnership. That's acquisition. That's survival, Ms. Quinn. You've made powerful enemies. The lawsuit is just the beginning. Without our protection, you'll be buried in legal fees and federal investigations. With us, you become untouchable. Roman leaned forward. Who are you really? What consortium? Blackwood smiled. The kind that doesn't have a name. The kind that's been running things from the shadows for generations, while people like Graves played at being criminal masterminds. We're offering you a seat at the real table. And if I refuse, then the lawsuit proceeds. Your network crumbles. And in 6 months, we'll buy the pieces for pennies on the dollar and rebuild it without you. He stood. You have 48 hours to decide. Choose wisely. He left, and the silence he left behind was suffocating. That's the real power, Ilara said quietly. Not Graves, not the vindicated, them. The people who've been invisible for so long, we forgot they existed. You can't seriously be considering this. I'm considering survival, which seems to be all I do lately. She pulled up information on Richard Blackwood, minimal digital footprint, no social media, barely a whisper online. Ghost. He's right about one thing. This lawsuit will destroy us. Legal fees alone would drain our resources in months. Then we fight it. With what we're operating on the edge of legality as it is, the moment we step into a courtroom, everything we've built gets exposed. She stood, started pacing. Maybe taking their money is the smart play. Stay in control operationally, let them handle the financial warfare. Ilara, listen to yourself. You'd be giving up everything you fought for. I'd be surviving again. That's what I do, Roman. I survive. The words came out harsher than she intended, 7 years of pressure finally cracking through. I survive Graves. I survive Castellano. I survive the Vindicated. I survive Natasha. And now I'll survive this too, even if it means compromising. Compromising or surrendering. The question hung between them like a blade. Before she could answer, her phone rang. Director Chen. Ms. Quinn, we have a situation. Vincent Castellano was killed 20 minutes ago. Shot in his hospital bed. 2 guards dead. Professional hit. Alara's legs gave out. She sank into her chair. Sophia, safe, still in your protective custody, but whoever killed Castellano left a message, written in his blood on the wall. Chen paused. It said, "Tell Alara she's next." The line went dead. Roman was already calling their security team, issuing orders. But Alara sat frozen, her mind calculating possibilities and finding none that didn't end in blood. Castellano was dead, despite her protection, despite everything, someone had reached him. And that message was clear. She was the real target. "We need to move," Roman said urgently. "Get somewhere secure." "Nowhere secure. Don't you see, whoever this is, they have resources that make Graves look like a street hustler. They killed a man in federal protective custody. They organized a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. They're offering me a deal while simultaneously threatening my life." She laughed, slightly hysterical. "This is a test. They want to see if I'll break." "Then don't break." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one with a target on your back." "Yes, I am." He grabbed her shoulders, forced her to meet his eyes. "Everything you face, I face. That's what partnership means. So stop spiraling and start strategizing." "What do we know?" She took a shaky breath, forced her mind back into tactical mode. "We know Blackwood's consortium is real. We know they have reached legal, financial, operational. We know they want my network badly enough to offer $300 million. So they're not trying to kill you. They're trying to recruit you by killing Castellano as a demonstration." She stopped. "That's exactly what they're doing. Show me the cost of refusal. Make me desperate enough to accept their terms. Which means you have leverage. They want you alive. They want you cooperative. Use that." She pulled out her phone, dialed the number Blackwood had left. He answered on the first ring. "Mrs. Quinn, ready to accept, ready to negotiate. Your people killed Vincent Castellano to prove a point. Consider it proven. But 60% ownership is unacceptable. I'll give you 49%. I keep majority control. You get significant stake in input." "That's not how this works." "It is now, because if you wanted to buy me outright, you would have. You want me running things because you recognize I'm better at this than anyone you could install. So 49%, or I burn everything down and you get nothing." Silence. "Then you're bluffing." I destroyed Graves's network to avoid control. You think I won't do the same to my own?" She kept her voice steady. 49%. Final offer. Clock's ticking. More silence. Then incredibly, 51 for us, 49 for you. But you get full operational control and veto power on major decisions. It was better than she'd hoped. Still a loss, but survivable. Deal. But I want it in writing with ironclad protections. And I want to know who you really are. You'll get the contracts by morning. As for who we are, you'll learn in time. Some things can't be rushed. He hung up. Roman looked stunned. "Did you just negotiate with the people trying to kill you?" "They're not trying to kill me. They're trying to own me. There's a difference, Orbrek." She felt something shift inside her, acceptance maybe of what she'd become. "And I just made sure that even if they own 51%, they don't own me." Is that enough? It has to be. The contracts arrived at 6 a.m. delivered by courier. Alara read every word, had Roman's corporate lawyers review every clause. It was airtight. She got operational control, veto power, and protection from legal action. They got 51% ownership and rights to the network's financial upside. She signed at noon, feeling like she was signing away her soul. That afternoon, the lawsuit was dropped. All 15 families withdrew their complaints simultaneously. The threatening messages stopped, and Alara's bank account suddenly showed $500 million in new operational capital. "It's done," she told Roman. We're partnered with ghosts. Are you okay with that? She thought about the question honestly. No, but I'm alive. We're alive. The network survives. Sometimes that's the best we can hope for. They spent the next week restructuring, bringing in new talent, expanding operations. The consortium stayed silent, true to their promise of being invisible partners. But Alara felt their presence like a weight constant, unavoidable. Director Chen called on Friday. Thought you'd want to know, Natasha Volkov was found dead in Prague. Apparent suicide. Alara's hand tightened on the phone. That's not suicide, that's execution. Probably. But officially it's closed. Just like Castellano, just like all the others who threatened you. Chen's voice was careful. You've made some powerful friends, Miss Quinn. Be careful they don't become your enemies. After she hung up, Alara sat in her office for a long time thinking about Natasha, about betrayal and mercy, and the cost of both. She'd let Natasha live, given her a chance to run, and someone else had decided that was the wrong choice and corrected it. The consortium wasn't just backing her, they were cleaning up her mistakes. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like chains. Roman found her at sunset, staring out over Manhattan. Penny, for your thoughts. I'm thinking about prices. What we pay for power, for survival, for peace. She turned to face him. I've spent 7 years trying to be better than Graves. But in the end, I made the same choice he did. I traded freedom for protection. You're nothing like Graves. Aren't I? He ruled through fear and leverage. I'm doing the same thing, just with better PR. She moved to him, let him hold her. When does it end? Roman, when do we stop fighting and start living? Maybe never. Maybe this is what we are now, fighters, survivors, builders of empires we don't fully control. He kissed her hair. But we're doing it together. That has to count for something. It did. It counted for everything. But some nights like tonight, it didn't feel like enough. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Well played, Ms. Quinn. Welcome to the real game. Your first assignment arrives Monday. Assignment, like she was an employee, not a partner. The consortium showing its hand already. She showed Roman. His jaw tightened. You don't have to do whatever they ask. Don't I? They own 51%. They saved us from legal destruction. They killed our enemies. She deleted the message. I made a deal with devils who don't even have the courtesy to show their faces. Now I pay the price. Monday's assignment arrived in a sealed envelope. Inside was a single name and address. Marcus Delacroix, the traitor from Roman's company, now working for a competitor. The instruction was simple. Eliminate this threat to our interests. Alara stared at the order for an hour. Eliminate, corporate speak for murder. The consortium wanted her to kill Marcus to prove her loyalty with blood. I can't do this, she told Roman. Then don't. If I refuse, they'll see it as betrayal. They'll take everything, maybe worse. And if you do it, you become exactly what you've been running from. He took the envelope, tore it up. We find another way. There's always another way. But there wasn't. Alara called every contact, pulled every string, searched for loopholes in the contract she'd signed. The consortium had been thorough. She was bound to follow reasonable operational directives. Eliminating a corporate spy fell squarely in that category. She had 48 hours to comply or face consequences. I could disappear, she said on the second night. Take Kyle, take you, just vanish. Start over somewhere, they can't find us. You know that's impossible. These people have resources we can't imagine. We'd be running forever. Then what do I do? Roman was quiet for a long time. Then you do what you've always done. You find the third option no one else sees. The third option came to her at 3 a.m., jolting her awake. She grabbed her laptop, started working feverishly. By dawn, she had a plan. She called Blackwood. I have your solution for Marcus Delacroix, but it's not elimination. The directive was clear. The directive was to eliminate the threat. I'm doing that, just not the way you expected. She laid out her plan. Marcus wouldn't die, but his reputation would. She'd manufacture evidence of him stealing from his current employer, create a scandal so devastating he'd be radioactive to any company. Eliminated as a threat without a body count. That's not what we ordered. That's the third option. You hired me for my strategic thinking. Trust it or replace me. She held her breath, gambling everything on one bet that they valued her mind more than her obedience. Long silence. Then, proceed with your plan. But Ms. Quinn, don't make a habit of reinterpreting orders. Eventually we'll require more direct compliance. He hung up. Alara sagged with relief, then got to work. She manufactured the evidence, planted the story with journalists, watched Marcus's career implode in real time. Within a week, he was unemployable, disgraced, neutralized. The consortium sent a one-word text, acceptable. But Alara knew she'd bought herself time, not freedom. Eventually, they'd give her an order she couldn't reinterpret. And then she'd have to choose between her soul and her survival. She was explaining this to Roman when her office door burst open. Sofia Castellano stood there, tears streaming down her face. My father's funeral was today. I wasn't allowed to go. Your people said it was too dangerous. Her voice cracked. He's dead because of you, because you dragged him into your war. The accusation hit like a physical blow. Sophia, I tried to protect him. You got him killed, just like you'll get everyone killed who gets close to you. She was sobbing now, 17 years old and drowning in grief. I hate you so much. She ran out before Alara could respond. Roman moved to follow, but Alara stopped him. She's right. She's grieving. She's right, Alara repeated. Everyone close to me ends up dead or destroyed. My contacts, my allies now, Castellano. How many more people have to die before I admit I'm the problem? You're not the problem. The people coming after you are. And they're coming after me because I keep fighting, keep building, keep refusing to disappear. Maybe Sophia's right. Maybe the best thing I could do is walk away. Walk away to what you think the consortium will let you retire peacefully. You think the underground will forget. You're in this now, Alara. The only way out is through. He was right. She knew he was right. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. Over the next month, Alara built her empire according to the consortium's vision. She recruited top talent, expanded into new markets, made strategic acquisitions. The network grew powerful, profitable, efficient, and she felt emptier with each success, Roman noticed. You're not happy? I'm successful. That's different. Is this really what you want to be, a puppet for invisible masters? I want to survive, to protect the people I care about, to build something that lasts. She stared at her computer screen at financial reports that showed exponential growth. But you're right, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted freedom, partnership, control. Instead, I'm richer and more trapped than I've ever been. Then we change it. How they own us. They own 51% of a company. They don't own you. He pulled her away from the desk, made her look at him. You found third options for Marcus, for Sandra, for every threat we've faced. Find one for this. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But the consortium had proven its reach, its ruthlessness. Fighting them seemed impossible. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Ms. Quinn, this is Gerald Harrison from the board. The old money executive who'd questioned her partnership. Mr. Harrison, what can I do for you? It's what I can do for you. I've been doing research into your new financial partners, the consortium, as they call themselves. I've found information you need to see. He paused. They're not what they claim, and they're planning something that puts you directly in their crosshairs. I'm listening. Not on the phone. Meet me tomorrow, alone. I'll show you everything. He hung up before she could question him further. Roman shook his head immediately. It's a trap. Maybe, or maybe it's the third option I've been looking for. She grabbed her jacket. Either way, I have to know. They argued, but in the end, she went alone to the meeting. Harrison had specified a coffee shop in Midtown, public and crowded. Safe as anywhere could be. Harrison was already there, looking 20 years older than the last time she'd seen him. He slid a folder across the table. 6 months ago, the consortium approached me, offered me money to vote against your partnership with Roman. I refused. Then they threatened my family. His hands shook. I voted the way they wanted. I'm not proud, but I protected my own. Why are you telling me this now? Because they're done using you to build the network. They're planning to eliminate you, make it look like an accident or enemy action, and install their own leadership. You were always temporary, Miss Quinn, a useful tool to consolidate power. Alara felt ice spread through her chest. When? I don't know. Soon, and there's more. He opened the folder, showed her documents. The consortium isn't just criminals. They're connected to 3 governments, 2 intelligence agencies, and at least a dozen Fortune 500 companies. You're not dealing with an underground network. You're dealing with the people who run the world. The scope of it was staggering, impossible, and yet the evidence was right there. Why help me, she asked. What do you gain? Redemption maybe, or revenge for being used? Does it matter? He stood. They're monsters, Ms. Quinn, and they're coming for you, so run, fight, or surrender. Just don't say you weren't warned. He left, and Alara sat alone with documentation proving she'd never had a chance from the beginning. The consortium had been orchestrating everything Graves' downfall, the Vindicated's formation, even Natasha's betrayal, and all of it designed to push her into their arms to build the network they wanted to become the tool they needed. And now she'd outlived her usefulness. She called Roman. We have a problem, the biggest one yet. That night, they planned their endgame. Either they fought the consortium and likely died trying, or they found a way to make themselves indispensable, too valuable to eliminate. There's a third option, Alara said slowly. We expose them. Expose who they're invisible. No names, no faces, no proof. Harrison gave us proof. Documents, connections, evidence. She pulled out the folder. We leak everything, make it public. They can't kill what the whole world knows about. They'll retaliate, destroy us financially, legally. They're planning to kill us anyway. At least this way we go down fighting. She looked at him, seeing her own fear reflected. It's the last play we have. Do we take it? Roman thought for exactly 3 seconds. We take it. They spent the next 48 hours preparing. Alara copied every document, created multiple backups, arranged for simultaneous release to major news outlets, federal agencies, and whistleblower organizations. If they went down, the consortium went down with them. The night before the planned release, Blackwood called. Ms. Quinn, we need to discuss your retirement. Her blood turned to ice. My what? You've served admirably, but it's time for new leadership. We're prepared to offer you a generous severance, $20 million, in a peaceful retirement. All you have to do is step away. And if I refuse, then we'll be forced to retire you more permanently. Your choice. You have 24 hours. He hung up. Alara looked at Roman, saw her own resolve reflected in his eyes. We release everything. Now, tonight. They'll know it was us. I don't care anymore. I'm done being afraid. She hit the button that would distribute the files to every contact she'd prepared. Let them come. The explosion was immediate. Within hours, major news networks were reporting on a shadowy consortium controlling global finance. Federal investigations launched. Stock markets trembled. And somewhere, people who'd been invisible for generations were suddenly exposed to daylight. Alara's phone rang constantly. Threats, pleas, offers, curses. She ignored them all, except one call from Director Chen. What did you do? I went to war, and I'm winning. You're insane. These people will destroy you. They were going to anyway. At least this way I control the narrative. She hung up and turned to Roman. Whatever happens next, happens to both of us. I know. They fortified the office, hired additional security, prepared for retaliation. It came at midnight, not assassins, but lawyers. Lawsuits filed simultaneously in 16 countries. Criminal charges, asset seizures. The full weight of the consortium's resources deployed to crush them. But the court of public opinion was faster. Within 48 hours, the consortium's connections were being investigated by multiple governments. Major corporations were severing ties. The invisible empire was crumbling. Blackwood called one final time. You've destroyed everything. No, I've freed everyone, including myself. Alara felt something like peace. You wanted to own me, but I was never for sale. You'll regret this. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it free. She hung up, and for the first time in months, she breathed without the weight of invisible chains. The legal battles lasted 8 months. Alara lost the network. It was seized as part of federal investigations, but she kept her freedom. The consortium's key players were arrested, charged with everything from racketeering to international conspiracy. Some escaped, disappeared back into the shadows, but their power was broken. Roman lost his company to collateral damage from the expose, but together they rebuilt something smaller, cleaner, completely legitimate. a consulting firm that helped companies navigate complex negotiations. No more shadows, no more secrets, just honest work. It took 2 years before Alara felt safe walking down the street without looking over her shoulder. 3 years before she stopped checking her accounts for evidence of manipulation. 5 years before she truly believed they'd won. On their wedding day, small ceremony, just close friends, Alara stood beside Roman and thought about the journey that had brought them here. From invisible secretary to visible threat to hunted target to finally survivor. Any regrets? Roman asked as they cut their cake. She thought about it honestly. The losses, the betrayals, the compromises. The people who died the empire she'd built and lost the years of looking over her shoulder. Only one, she said finally. I wish I'd trusted myself sooner. Stopped being invisible years earlier. But everything else, even the hard parts, they made me who I am. And who are you, Alara Vance? She smiled at her new name, at the man she'd chosen, at the life they'd built from the ashes of their old ones. I'm someone who survived, someone who fought, someone who refused to be owned. She kissed him softly, and someone who's done running. Years later, sitting in her office, overlooking a different city with different challenges, Alara received one final message from an unknown number. You won this round, but the game never truly ends. Sleep well. Ms. Vance, you earned it. She deleted it without responding because some threats weren't worth acknowledging. She'd been invisible for 7 years, visible and hunted for 2 more, and had spent the 5 years since learning to exist somewhere in between, seen but not exposed, powerful but not vulnerable, successful but not trapped. The Mafia boss who'd taken his ugly secretary to dinner had gotten exactly what he deserved, a partner who'd burned down empires to stay free, who'd chosen love over power, who'd survived every threat the world could throw at her. And Alara Quinn. Now, Alara Vance had learned the most important lesson of all, that visibility wasn't weakness, invisibility wasn't safety, and the only true power came from choosing your own path, no matter how many people tried to choose it for you. She'd been underestimated her entire life, right up until the moment she proved everyone wrong. And now finally she was exactly where she'd always been meant to be, free-loved and entirely, completely herself.